Okay, good evening. Today is Thursday, September 13th. This is the Auburn Board of Health meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. And we have any agenda items to add or remove? No. And we have no approval of any minutes.
Not this one.
And we'll move right into the agenda, in which we have a few hearings. We first have a hearing in regards to the public donation collection bin regulation. I'd entertain a motion to open the hearing for this.
Make motion?
Second motion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you so much. So the hearing today is for the public input for the public donation collection bins. As you know, this is something that we have been working on in dealing with a lot of problems surrounding dumping around the bins, bins not being maintained. So there has been movement by the board to try to come up with a more permanent solution that will help the town keep the bins in compliance and for the purpose that they are meant for, to collect textiles and books and shoes. They serve a really good purpose, taking textiles out of the waste stream. A lot of people will throw clothes and shoes away, and they do have a life afterwards. So being able to have these bins maintained is going to be our ultimate goal. So we had some discussion from the last meeting. We had some suggestions from the board, and I wanted to just kind of give you an update. We actually had a scope of the town to see currently approximately how many donation bins we have, and we think there's about 25. Our health inspector Jordan and Eileen were both out on all around the areas of town to identify where these bins are, so we kind of have a almost like a blueprint of where they are, the locations, the addresses. It's not, you know, we may have missed one or two, but we think we know the general locations. A lot of times we're responding to these locations as well. So about 25, all areas of town, and then this will give you just some pictures of some of what you'll see. I know everybody has seen them. These are actual bins located at establishments or in parking lots, and then there's also, I think some of the last ones are in vacant parcels of land. The vacant parcels of land tend to be more problematic, but we do respond to bins all over. So I wanted to just provide you an update on that. And one of the other items that the board had expressed just some more information that they were looking for is the requirement to have ownership information on the bins. Currently, you can see they're all kind of all over the place as to what they have on them, and if we are moving forward to permit them, which is what this regulation will do, we'll actually have a point of contact. We'll have a paper trail so that we can actually pick up the phone and call somebody who is responsible for them, a permit holder. If you look over on the corkboard, the drawing there represents what the 3-inch lettering would look like. And if I may show you, excuse me. This is, so you'd have like the company name, you'd have a contact, an address, a phone number. This is what it would look like. Now on the bin requirements, I believe we had 5 by 5 is generally the size, not really to exceed 5 feet by 5 feet, and not to exceed a height of 6 feet. So this is how 3-inch letters would look, and I think we had it, I kept it in the regulation as 2-inch, and that's 2-inch. So it just kind of gives you a visual of what it will look like. If you have a preference, You know, I kept it as 2-inch. This is 2-inch, and then the larger one is 3-inch.
I like the 2-inch.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're good with that, we'll keep it with the 2-inch. And on the, so the purpose of just having some point of contact information, if, you know, a person is driving by and they notice, a lot of times when they call the office, they may have already made a call to the place that owns the bin. So having that information on there, I think, you know, can only help. So that is one of the things that we were going to look at. We looked at some of the wording for parcel and property, and we made a change in the regulation. So there shall be no more than 3 donation collection bins allowed per parcel is how it was written previously, and I think we went with per property address, because what we found was that we're kind of categorizing these all by property address. So if we have a property address that we're going to, there is going to be there's going to be a limit on what you can have. Now, as I'm saying this, the only, I guess, thinking outside the box, at the mall does have one address, 385 Southbridge Street. I believe there's bins on both sides of the mall. So taking that into consideration, if you want to expand upon that, or you want to keep donation bins in just one area of the parking lot. I personally don't think we've responded to any complaints at the mall, so we haven't had any problems with the bins there.
Okay.
So I don't think it would be a problem. And then one final area that I just wanted to point out to you, because I think this is a lot of times where the regulation, where we're going to spend the most amount of time once the regulation is actually in effect, is the enforcement part of it. So when you come down to it, if we receive a call or complaint on them, we're going to be going out to do an investigation. If there's actually an issue, we're going to contact the owner. Allow them a period of time to clean up the area. 24 hours is what we're looking for. Most of the time, I have to say, I think they are responsive, but we don't want to have to make the call. You know, so if there's an element of ownership of having the name on the bin, to having to obtain a permit, and so forth, we're hoping that that brings a level of responsibility to these bins. For the under enforcement violation penalties, in under D, any person, entity, partnership, firm, or corporation violating any provision of this regulation shall be punished by a fine of not less than $100, but not exceeding $300 per day. For each individual violation, and then of course each day that the offense shall continue shall be considered a separate violation. So that is consistent with the ticketing process. Typically, you know, that's going to mean you're going to have a minimum of $100, but not more than $300. If somebody does appeal that ticket, we do go to court. So we have gone through that process as well. So that's, you know, that's how we're expecting this to go. Again, we're hoping that having a regulation in place is going to help with keeping the bins intended for the purpose and keeping them clean and maintained.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this? Sir, your name?
James Griffin?
James Griffin. And did you sign in? Or if you could just sign in, please, and state your title and any affiliations you may have.
No affiliations. Other than my wife is on the board, so.
Okay. Welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
All right, thank you for letting me speak. This has been something that's bothered me ever since I've moved to this town, so I'm glad we're doing this. The count of the bins is pretty right on, because I actually went around myself
Oh, good.
and was trying to count bins. You actually counted more than I got, so that's a good thing. It seems like every gas station has one, just so everyone knows. Like every Shell station has one. Some of them are tucked way in the back, so you really can't, unless you look for it, you're not going to see it. I drove around the mall today. I didn't see any on the side they're constructing. I don't know if they moved the bins or if they just put somewhere where you can't see, but they do have 4 on the other side. And one of them already, when I went by, it was a donation bin for books. Around it, on top of it, were bags of what looked like clothing to me. And obviously that's not what you want to see in a donation for books. One of the questions I have is you're talking about making sure that it's a paved area for these bins. The bins that they're on soil, and I believe there's only one set of bins that are on soil, I believe. That's the one near Papa Gino's. How much time is the board going to allow for them to be moved out of there? I think 3 months is too much. I think 2 months is too much. I think at 45 days maximum would be more than adequate for them to get them out of there. I think even a month, but that's just my opinion because they've been there a long time. That's the biggest I saw myself personally, I think, in town. When you drive through Route 12, it's right there. You can't miss them. And when someone dumps, everyone can see it, especially when it's wet out and it's muddy. You got a large area of water, and these bags sometimes, and not even bags, other items are just dumped there. And I'm surprised because it is an open area that, you know, they get away with it. But obviously they know when to do it in the middle of the night when no one's around. So that to me is a big problem. And that's one of the bins that I'd like to see out of there sooner rather than later, no question.
So let's just address
Yes,
that before you
yes,
go any further.
Yes.
Okay, if I may.
Yeah, please.
So in the, from the last meeting and from our discussion and comments from the board, I think we had, I think the discussion was that we would like to, we're putting in a regulation. This is a long time coming.
Right.
It definitely, I understand your frustration with bins that overflow. However, there is going to be a transition process for the board because this is something that we have not permitted before. So it's going to be a process of reaching out to all of these businesses if they don't reach out to us. So the regulation, once the board votes it, there's a process where we have to advertise in the paper to let people know that we actually passed the regulation. And then I think the board was supportive of the fact of, since in the regulation we changed it from a permitting process from calendar year, so January 1st to December 31st, we were thinking that the process would start as of January. So I had in here in the effective date and implementation, right now I'm thinking approximately 90 days would, you know, if we voted it at the next meeting or this meeting, whichever you prefer, it would kind of get us to the end of the year. Now, we can modify that if the board so chooses, but we do need some time with the staff to be able to actually get the paperwork, there's going to be explanation to the people that may not know that the regulation goes in place, but, you know, they still have to comply with it. That's not to say that we can't address complaints that you're identifying. So obviously if you saw something at the mall or, You know, we do see it at other ones in town, especially one on Southbridge Street. That's not to say that we're not going to address complaints, but realistically, on getting people to comply with a regulation that we haven't had before, there's a time transition.
Any board members have any discussion on as far as time or anything?
No.
I think we heard that, sir, as far as the time, and again, I have to, you know, deal with, you know, the chairman and the inspectors here as well, as this being new and a time transition too, we have to be sympathetic to that as well, so. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, I'm curious, I think it was addressed at the last meeting too, is if you have 3 bins and they're 3 separate bins, 3 different companies, whether it be St. Vincent de Paul and Salvation Army and a book drop, someone dumps, does you say, okay, everyone's going to get that fine? How do you know who it is that you fine at that point? I think that you should have it so that if there is 3 bins there, they have to be the same donation. So if it's 3 Salvation Army, then that's what it should be. If it's 2, I think that's the only way you could do it without running into problems when you find somebody for dumping. Because if you have 3 separate bins, 3 different donation bins, who are you going to find? You're going to find all 3, or I think it needs to be regulated so that in that area it has to be 1 donation type in that specific area.
And the fine is only applicable if they don't clean it up in 24 hours or less.
Right.
So we've had very few instances, even now, where we would have had to fine from notification to when they cleaned it up.
I mean, I can understand what you're saying. I guess I'm thinking that going through this permitting process, if people know that they are at risk of losing a permit if they don't keep it maintained, I think that these bins for some agencies are very profitable. They don't
Right.
want to have problems, and if they're not maintaining them and they are put on notice with a violation, I think we would have their attention a little bit more with having a regulation in place. Respectfully, I don't want to tell a property owner they can only have, you know, 1 company to have bins. I guess I'm on as the town official, I would say you can have 3. I'm not sure, I don't care where they come from. They all have to be maintained. So if we notify all 3 and we have compliance from 2 of them and not the 3rd, yes, it makes it easier for who's complying.
That's fine, I just wasn't sure how you would go about enforcing if there was a big problem, which of those individuals would have to come out and get the stuff off of that area, because then they might all look at each other and say, well, this is your problem, this is your problem. You know, it's almost like they'd have to get, you know, together, all of them, if there's 3 bins there, to discuss it, you know? I'm just looking at it for you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
They don't want to risk losing their spot because it's
like-
lucrative for them.
It's like having a shared driveway, though. If you don't want to pay for plowing, your neighbor's going to end up picking that up. I think enforcement, it's a concern I have as well, is the enforcement on, and I'm not saying that all 3 bins have to be side by side. Property owner can decide where they place the bins, but if you've got more than 1 company or organization side by side, and one company is consistently compliant and the other one is not, you've got the neighbor plowing the driveway and the other one is just...
And
so-
also, though, if they continually get cited, they're
Yeah.
not going to want to do business there.
Yeah.
And they're going to leave. So that's where the
Yeah.
property owner would step in
Right.
and make decisions on what was going to happen on his property.
That's what I was going to say, the
In a
property
shared
owner
driveway, you
would
can't
say-
really move.
Right.
You know, it's a little more difficult to sell your house than it is to pull your box out and
Yeah.
put it somewhere else.
Right.
I mean, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to agree with Eileen and just say the property owner would probably then just say, well, listen, you're not going to keep your box here if this is going to be a problem, so,
Because they would be
Yeah.
notified as well.
right.
And they're also responsible. So
Right. Yeah.
here's the thing, if the property owner is, is hearing from the town, you've got problems with XYZ company, we need to fix it, I think there's ownership not just for XYZ clothing company, but the property owner. I mean, I have to say, Eileen she has relationships with a lot of these people. So she's able to pick up the phone and say, look, we're getting complaints, since we got here this morning. We need somebody out there. Often, I've seen her have somebody there by 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the same day. So I'm not saying it happens all the time like that, but, we want to, again, the purpose of these donation bins is really to serve a purpose, to help us lighten the load, to take it out of solid waste and stuff that is heavy in solid waste. We want it out of tipping because we pay more as the town for stuff that's in trash. So let's use these bins for the purpose that they are intended for.
I also would like to identify that some of the ones that you're speaking of and that I've had problems with are on vacant parcels, which is something that we are going to eliminate, or businesses that don't know that they have a box on their property for whatever reason, whether it was a corporate decision, it wasn't a local decision of the person that's leasing or renting the property. And this will help clarify a lot of that. At an open business, it's far more difficult to do illegal dumping, even in the overnight hours, because the business will then decide where it's going to go so that it's visible, even to passerbyers when they're closed.
And the only other thing I have is these bins will all be placed on paved areas, not like put on blocks or anything like that. So I don't want to get away with like putting cement blocks down and say it's on cement. It would be paved areas.
I believe I have it in.
Yeah.
It's paved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, because I know some of them, especially the one near Albert Ave, there's 3 bins there, and they're like pushed right up into the tree line. I mean, the shrubbery's actually growing almost like on top of them. That's how tightly packed they're in. There is a paved area there, but it's really pushed in there. It's right before Ronnie's, on the same side as
Oh,
Ronnie's.
on the left-hand side?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's talking about the, but that,
And it's
I
like
think
there's
it's
no
vacant
product
property.
there.
Vacant
Yeah,
property.
so
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's not, they're not gonna be
Yeah.
allowed there.
Okay, good, all right,
So most vacant property is undeveloped,
right,
so therefore you're probably going to have just ground.
right. All right, excellent, appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on during the hearing for the donation bin? Seeing and hearing none, does the board have any observations? No, I have none. Mr. Nordborg? I would entertain a motion that we approve the donation collection bin regulations.
Make a motion to approve the Auburn Public Donation Collection Bin Regulations?
I'll second it.
If I may.
Oh, yes, sorry.
So if I may, we would just like to make sure that legally we have sound ground. So if you are okay with taking this draft and sending it just for just a legal review for Hennigan, just to make
Yeah.
sure everything's right.
Yeah, I think if we approve it, then you would do that and then go.
Wonderful. Sorry.
So we have
Thank you.
we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the donation collection bin regulations. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, there's a vote.
Okay.
Are you opposed, Steve?
No, I was just wondering if we should amend the motion pending legal review.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm abstaining from a vote, because I need to
Spoken
understand the
into
complete
discussion.
legality of it.
Okay, so then, did you want to, yeah, we can amend the motion then
It's your
as far
motion,
as that,
Ellen.
so.
Okay, I'll amend the motion to accept the draft for public donation collection bin regulations pending legal review.
Okay.
and then I'll second that.
Second, okay. And on the amendment of the original motion, pending legal review, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That didn't happen. Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
No, that's okay. No.
Thank you very much. And we'll hopefully have this back from town council for the next meeting. We'll shoot for that.
So I'd like to entertain a motion to close the hearing for the public connection bin regulation.
Motion?
Aye.
Second, and we will, all those in favor of closing that hearing?
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have a hearing for 44 Waterman Road. This is an appeal of a housing order dated 8/14/2018. I'd like to entertain a motion to open the hearing.
So moved?
Is there a second? Second, all those in favor for opening the hearing?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Okay, Ms. Coyle.
Thank you. So the hearing here is for 44 Waterman Road, appeal of a housing order that was issued by myself on August 14th, 2018. And that housing order was to Mr. Robert Jimenez and Ms. Christina Mitchell. And they are here present, signing in the form. Mr. Jimenez and Ms. Mitchell. So the Board of Health had been at this property for many months for housing violations. Housing inspection was requested, I believe, back in November or December of last year. There were items that were identified, and there's actually 2 housing orders. So in your packet, you'll see 2 housing orders. There's one for Mr. Mark Upton, who's actually the owner of the property, and one for Mr. Jimenez and Ms. Mitchell, who are the occupants in the property. They are renting, it's a single-family home, and the inspections and enforcement process had been ongoing. There was concerns identified by the tenant and Eileen Alexander and Jordan Brusso had both been at the property previously for violations of the housing code. There was a period of time that we worked with both the property owner and the tenants to gain access for re-inspections and working through to try to get a resolution. The housing case did involve court process as well, and we had been to court with the property owner to work through to get to keep the timeline that we were on for the housing compliance. So at this time, the order to the owner has been resolved. That has the violations have been corrected and those are closed out. However,
those again?
I'm sorry, the excuse me, sir, are you here for the Board of Health meeting?
Yes.
Okay, you can come on in. Please feel free to sit down.
Oh, wait, yes, sir. Good. Oh, wait, sir. You need help?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll help you.
Okay.
Thank you. I
Yes,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
you're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I got you.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
No.
Thank you. So the order for the occupants is still outstanding, in which is the appeal that you have before you. So there was a period where I went out for reinspection. There were concerns identified by the tenant, and one of those concerns was for rodent droppings that were observed in kitchen, like a kitchen drawer. Those rodent droppings were observed. There was a conversation with the occupant about that, and this was actually my first time to the property. The previous inspections had been by the other health inspectors in the office, who had also given advisement on this particular concern. The owner was also responsible for making some repairs, which he did, and the concern for the rodent droppings was identified. In the housing code, it is the responsibility of the tenant, when you have a single-family home that's being occupied, of the tenant responsible for any extermination. And that's cited in the order.
Do you have anything further? Well, the people who are here for this hearing for 44 Waterman Road, raise your hand. All three of you. Sir, could you just come forward and, well, actually, you can stay there. I just want to swear all parties before us, if you're going to provide testimony in regards to this. The three of you who are identified promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and provide accurate testimony?
Yes.
Okay. You've all been signed in?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Anything else?
I can answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Folks? if you'd
Yes, I'd just like to
say.
say this was a Board of Health case that's been open since 11/7 and barely got closed to 8/31. We've had the same health violation from the first Board of Health inspection to the very last one. Same outstanding one, underneath the sink with the rodent problem. So my question is, why are we here? And underneath this code, it says, however, the owner shall maintain any screen fence necessary to keep rodents, pests out of the house. And we can prove on these last 3 inspections, he failed to do that.
He failed.
And I have pictures of what the condition of the house is right now, on top of what they approved and said was sealed. So I still got gaps, and I'm still catching mice underneath my sink. So why are we responsible for any kind of exterminator when that man should have been given the 14-day order by a professional exterminator the very first time he was cited for rodents? So I don't understand, why are we here ordered a 14-day order for a rodent extermination when clearly the owner failed to do that? And we have it on December 14th, and we have one on the December 14th of last year, up until 8/31 of this year, with the same violation, letting rodents in.
Okay.
I took those after they inspected it.
The foam insulation, is that what he recently put in?
He's
or
right
was
there,
that-
sir. I don't know what he used, so you're more than welcome to ask him what he used and how he used it. But that's the condition of just that, not everything that's been done and signed off in our house. We're just here for the extermination problem. We got no mouse droppings anywhere in the house. We own 3 cats. They never sprung us any dead mice. They're all confined to that cabinet right there. And those pictures show all the gaps and what, actually, just the condition of how he left the job. Look at that. My kid did a better job. I don't understand why we were ordered by a professional extermination company.
And with the complaint that the Board of Health brought against the owner, and number 5, it says, to the best knowledge of the petitioner, which is the Board of Health, the conditions complained of herein were not substantially caused by the tenants or the subject property or by any person acting under the tenant's control.
And that was from
This
7/13.
is, this needs, thank you.
Just so I'm clear, can you show me exactly where you were, can you don't have to come over, I just want to,
It's from July.
That
this is
order
for
right
July.
there.
It's when they took,
Yes.
it's when they took the landlord to court themselves after I questioned why did this process take so long? When there's a mass code, the 410-830B states that he should have 21 days, no more than 30 days. So why did it take from 11/7 to 8/31 to get closed? Why? You know what we had to deal with these 8 months?
This
Of,
is,
it's
You're welcome.
absolutely, I don't have the words of what we had to go through. And I mean, those pictures just say a lot about what got okayed at our house. Because that's what they okayed.
Did you have anything further?
No.
So you're aggrieved by, just so I and the rest of the board is hearing you properly, you're aggrieved by the 14-day order for the hiring exterminator for this?
Why wasn't the
why are we
landlord?
being blamed for, and to be made to pay for an exterminator when it is clearly not our fault? We are not at fault here. He failed to provide a decent outdoor structure. They failed to make him comply. And it's still
On the very
a
first
mess.
order, on the very first order, December 14th, cabinet problems with rodents. The very last order, 8/7, cabinet problem with rodents. On top of outside holes where it says seal from pests coming in. That same order, she ordered us for a 14-day extermination by a professional. He was never not once ordered by a professional. On top of that, they told us, she told us, it don't matter how it gets fixed as long as it gets fixed. There's no codes or standards on how the job gets
Or
done.
if there is one, she has to look it up.
And
Okay, so,
that should be proof of it right there, those pictures, because that's what our condition of our house is in right now. So I guess there's no standards, or if that's true. I don't know who to believe at this point. I'm just hearing mixed reviews on what needs and how things need to be getting done.
and what
here.
needs to be it's just an absurd case
Because if we're
right now.
ordered by a professional at the very end of all this, how come the landlord wasn't ordered by a professional the very first time?
At the beginning, when
Because then we wouldn't
literally...
have a rodent problem for over 9 months.
Okay. We have heard you. I'm more clear now. I believe the board members are clear. If you'd like to comment.
Sure. So the, as I stated, the case had been ongoing. There was a lot of coordination to try to have the parties involved, both the occupants and the owner, to be able to keep lines of communication open. The Board of Health attempted to do that. And there were some challenges with that.
Excuse me.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
She needs to finish.
There were challenges which caused the case to linger on. The fact that the owner was cited at the same time to make repairs was not because he wasn't ordered previously to that. He was, and repairs were made. However, when I went to do my inspection, and again, with the caveat, I had not been at the property previously. It was handled by my staff, who I'm confident was aware of the conditions and was working towards getting the sanitary code violations corrected. We felt that at that point, any repairs that were made that we were either not sufficient or changed in any way over the period of time that occurred from the first time they were cited, I felt that go ahead and make the owner make the areas rodent-proof, which is why he was cited again. recognizing that there were holes in the structure that were addressed. And I know that Ms. Alexander has been to the property many times, has been in communication with both Mr. Jimenez and Ms. Mitchell and Mr. Upton, and can provide some clarification for some of the questions that have come up.
Okay. Ms. Alexander?
I did, on December 14th, send an order from an inspection that I went to in November and again in December. And I did request that the cabinet housing the kitchen sink had a large hole and required repair. On December 28th, as a status update from Christina Mitchell, the tenant, she stated to me that the hole underneath the kitchen sink was filled in along with all the cracks. But there was some other stuff that was not done, so an inspection wasn't done at that time. On February 9th, I did go and go over all the items that were completed. The kitchen sink, underneath the kitchen sink, had repellent foam that's used for mice, and it closed all the gaps in the crawl space, which I have pictures of from February 9th. So that was completed as far as the order went at that time. During a re-inspection, after that fact of that, some plumbing was done in the bathroom, which opened up some areas of underneath the bathroom sink. At a re-inspection in April, I went and that was sealed up. When Darlene went back, there was still mention of some rodents coming in, and so that's where her order came from. We did have the owner go back and address any further concerns they had for underneath both the sinks, and did go back again in August and show that, yes, he did put foam in every single area that he could put foam in, because of the complaint that the first time they didn't feel it was sufficient, although I do have the pictures from that time. The exterior hole was not accessible. When I first did my inspection, I didn't do a backyard inspection. Darlene found the exterior hole at the top of the house outside for the first time in August.
If I can also
Yes, please.
offer, it's my understanding that when the Board of Health was called for an inspection at the property, the occupants were specific on what they wanted checked, and those areas were checked. They did not want an inspection of the entire house. They wanted specific areas checked, so those areas were addressed.
And ma'am, you were going to say something before I had to...
We've scheduled and we've gone through our attorneys because this is the way we've had to deal with things, because we would get appointments made and then with no shows, people wouldn't show up. This is just what we've had to deal with. You did inspect the backyard. You were in the backyard. You saw the back of the house. You saw where the oil tank was. You saw where all those were.
Ma'am, I would ask you that you address through the chair to any of the
Well,
members.
she did. She saw the back of the house where the oil tank was before it was replaced. And that was all exposed, and that had holes. She was back there. There's an order for him to clean up the garbage that he disposed of back there. And so for her to say that she wasn't back there, she was back there. There's overgrowth, severe overgrowth that's been there and causing a mosquito hazard now. So it's an issue.
And
It's been an ongoing issue.
Also, I showed her that mouse hole. I walked her to it and I showed her that hole.
When did you do that, sir?
The last when she was there for the inspection. Oh, sorry.
which was
Darlene.
which
If
was
they
in
wanna-
August.
If they want to
She
do a
was-
full
yes.
inspection, re-inspection of this house, they can go room by room, socket by socket, wall to wall, and they better have everything. I want black mold searched. I want literally everything searched. If they want to go through room by room, they can go room by room, because this is getting ridiculous. I should be home feeding my kids and getting homework done.
9 months we've had to deal with this, when Mass Code says 21 days.
I will email you my attorney's number, and you can call them and see what we've been through.
With a lack of professionalism on the jobs right here. He was never ordered for anything professional during the whole duration of this process. Now, why were we ordered
The only
a
time-
14-day order? Why were we ordered to get a professional in and to show proof? Why were we?
The only time a
I don't understand that at
professional
all.
came
I don't
in,
understand.
I just one at a time, just,
the only time a professional came in is when they signed off on the bathroom, and the owner brought in Roto-Rooter for an inspection or an estimate.
That was the only time.
And he literally called for a whole new bathroom rip-out after they signed off on the bathroom.
This is after we had a whole bathroom remodel. All our whole bathroom walls got ripped out, redone by not a professional, just a handyman. A Roto-Rooter came in and said that was all wrong. So they had to rip out the whole bathroom again. Twice they had to rip out our bathroom. We had no water for 2 weekends during the whole duration.
My anniversary,
Of-
I had no shower
of the
for
whole
3 days.
rebuild.
My family had
They
no
literally had to take
shower.
out the walls to our bathrooms because they're so molded. They put them all in, handyman did it, he just caulked the edges. Roto-Rooter, a professional, came in and said that's all wrong and needed everything to be done. 2 months later, then they had to come in and rip everything out again.
so I've heard twice now that you're wondering about your 14-day order as
Yes,
to why.
yes.
So can the director address that question?
Sure.
In regards to why the homeowner was given the tenants were given a 14-day order?
Sure. So anytime there's rodent droppings that are brought to my attention, obviously we take it very seriously. And in the housing code identifies that, as I cited, the occupant of a dwelling containing one dwelling unit. So because this property is a single-family home, that they are responsible for maintaining the area free from rodents, skunks, cockroaches, insect infestation, shall be responsible for exterminating them, provided that the owner shall maintain any screen, fence, or other structural element necessary to keep rodents and skunks from entering the dwelling. At the time that I was there, I saw rodent droppings as Mr. Jimenez brought it to my attention. At that time, I was familiar with the fact, although I had not been to the property, I was familiar that my staff was working on this housing order, which has been contentious at times between both the occupants and the owner, and trying to move forward to try to get times for repairs to be made, for trying to get the violations that were identified fixed. There was a period when we went to the property to do re-inspections that other items were brought up and identified at that time. So it was something that was ongoing, which added to the timeline. And again, the repairs were observed by the inspector as being repaired by the owner previous to my inspection. So they were identified as repaired. However, when I saw them, I saw that they did not appear to be sealed. So I ordered the owner to once again go and seal up any areas that may have caused any entrance to the structure for any rodents to enter. So it was documented, and I believe, confirmed by the tenant that the repair was made. So that is the reasoning for not citing the owner and citing the tenant. So it was from the code and obviously from my knowledge that repairs had been checked and verified by the staff. We do have some pictures also, that can show you before and after for work that was done. And obviously, our role as the Board of Health is to enforce the state sanitary code. And that's something that we take very seriously, and we go by what's required.
Okay.
And through the chair.
Yes.
You can see the dates, I was there many times. For the bathroom, part of the reason that this extended so long was as repairs were made, if they were not sufficient, you can see by the reports, on February 9, I identified the 9 things that were corrected. There are about 4 or 5 things that weren't. It was all related to the bathroom. So as each inspection went, that things were not done satisfactory, then the owner was sending more repairmen in to do it. So while he was repairing some things, if the tub walls still weren't adhering, if the putty still wasn't drying, and there was still moisture behind it, he needed to do a new repair. So the same order stood because he tried several different things to make the repairs till finally, and you'll see it as it goes along, he made the final repair of replacing the walls. For the backyard, sometime in or around April or May, the tenants had the fire department come and look at the oil tank in the backyard, which is not an order that came from our department. While he was there, he did know some electrical issues, which when they were repaired, that's when I went into the backyard. For the overgrowth that was all on the house, when that was taken down for the electric to be repaired, that's when the hole was noted on the back of the house. And we had ordered the owner to fill in that little gap on the back of the house. It was identified by Mr. Jimenez to Darlene, but we didn't do anything in the backyard until the fire department went and put an order for the oil tank.
So, Mr. Jimenez, on your question in regards to the 14-day order, if I'm hearing the director, and you will be able to be heard, sir, dealing with the specific order question by Mr. Jimenez. You were given the 14-day order, from what I'm hearing correctly, is because that is in the housing code. That's am I correct in saying state law?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So that is, so you were given that order because that is what the state law
But the
is.
owner has to maintain the structural of the house, the structure of the house.
It says right
And if
there.
he does not maintain it, then how are we to blame for it?
So you're disputing that he
Yeah,
didn't?
we're disputing he did not.
Okay, so on the thing of the dispute, can you speak
In
to that?
February, when I went there, based on Christina's email, that the sink was filled in and all the gaps were filled in, I went on an inspection on February 9th, and in fact, it was.
Okay.
No.
So I signed off on it.
So
Okay.
where do you believe that the mice or the rodents are coming in now?
They're still coming in the gap that's there right now.
There's
I have a picture
there's
of
a
it.
gap right
You show
at
me
the
the
Can you
pipe.
show on the
specific-
picture? Yeah.
And there's where the mudroom was attached to the house, the mudroom was just built onto the house. And it's
still
like
see that
a
pictures?
2-inch
Yes.
wall.
I just took those.
Right, you see,
You can
he's,
still see the chalk line going across the wood.
so that was never repaired. That's brand new right there.
That's the condition of what it is right now.
Mr. Upton, you were raising your hand earlier. Did you
Oh,
have
yes.
something you wanted to say?
Oh, yes, there's been mass vandalism of all the boarding health work that I've done at the house. I have proof of it from the plumber when they put in the new shower surround. We've had yarn stuffed into the plumbing. We've also had the metal flashing removed from one of the windows. They're pulling everything out to make me look bad. I also started to do all the brush in February, and they stopped me. They didn't want me on the property. This is from the plumber, the vandalism. Okay, now I'm gonna go on. They stopped maintaining the property without notifying me, so now I'm mowing it myself. I've been in there every weekend almost, cutting brush again, and I can tell you, they're making all this up, and they're not being truthful. And they also made up a big deal about the oil burner not working, and then the Auburn Fire Department went in there and gave me a letter stating that it works fine. And I have it right here in front of me.
Do you wish to submit that as evidence?
Yes, sir, and I also want to submit
Present
this
it to the table
plumbing.
and I'll see it, both of those.
This is vandalism, and it's happened over and over again at this property. And they won't allow me on the property to survey what's going on. And then I have no way, I got mass multitudes of people going in there because I don't know what's going on. And they don't cooperate with me at all through this whole project.
So
All
I-
they're trying to do is bring stuff up. They ruin everything we do.
So I want to use caution that we're not here to address a landlord-owner dispute.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
I want to make that
I'm
clear.
trying to,
I understand, let me finish, please. We're not here to address anything to deal with a landlord-tenant dispute. That can be dealt with by other means. That is not the purpose of this hearing. This
Thank you.
hearing is to review and the facts and the testimony that you both are providing, if the orders were sustained and dealt with by the Board of Health.
And-
From what what I'm hearing is that orders for the owner were taken care of to your liking
Over a period of time.
over a period of time.
I did issue an order and did have him come back several, or workers on his behalf, because he was not allowed to look at the damage or to go into the property. I did have issues where he came back and repaired again and again. But the ones that I was signed off on, I was confident that they were repaired.
Yes.
He was allowed in the house.
He
He
was.
was in the house 3 weeks ago.
And-
Again, I
Well-
don't want to get this into
Well,
the
no,
whether
this is-
was
no.
was
We're
or
going back to
wasn't.
February.
We're dealing with, was the order completed?
Yep.
And I'm hearing from the directors of the Board of Health that it was completed to their liking. What is different tonight? What is different now?
Why are we the cause of his negligence? Why are we the cause? Why do we have to pay for his negligence?
And I believe the director answered your question because it's in the housing code.
But he's
That's the
failed to
state.
maintain.
Okay,
he's
so if
failed
this
to
is,
maintain,
if this
though.
is how,
In
okay,
that same thing, it says the owner shall maintain
we do not
from
agree.
pests coming in.
We do not agree.
And we can obviously prove that he's failed to maintain that.
Now, and not only that, through my attorneys, I have told him to come in and inspect his workers' work, and he always said no. Always.
Always.
Through my attorney, he always said no.
But even if we got an exterminator, they'd still be coming in with the condition of the house. With the holes in the house, holes in the outside of the house. So how are we supposed to get an exterminator to exterminate him when he's failing to maintain the rodents from coming in, as it clearly states in here? The owner shall maintain any screens, fans, or structural element necessary to keep rodents, pests out. And obviously in that last order, it says there's a hole in the outside to block from the pests coming in. So obviously the pests coming in can't be from us because he's failed to maintain any pests from coming in that same code that they're talking about.
So on your concern of him failing to maintain,
Yes.
would you have anything to offer as far as the owner not failing to maintain the outside of the structure?
So I believe that the tenant has identified issues through inspections. The owner has made repairs, And I know that Eileen and Jordan have both been there to check re-inspections. While I was at this was a re-inspection that I was actually at when I issued orders to both the owner and the tenant. I did speak to Mr. Jimenez because he had brought up this concern, which he had clearly stated to me that he had informed the previous inspector, Eileen, about it, and Eileen had advised at that time that the rodent issue was the responsibility of the tenant, and provided that advisement. I stated the same, and I also did say that I would double check just to make sure, because again, with my initial visit to the property, I wanted to verify what had been done. So I did review the file with my staff, and when Mr. Jimenez brought that up to me, I did note at that time with him that the occupant is also responsible for maintaining that the area is not going to invite rodents you know, by leaving food or food containers around. I believe there was a container of recyclables I think you had in the kitchen that were on the floor. There was some food products that were on the table. So at that time, I did state that you have to make sure that you don't leave anything out, so that you know, you're going to make it an area that's attractive for rodents. Certainly, as I explained previously, there was an area underneath the sink that I did observe. There were some openings. I had concerns for it. However, I did cite the owner in his order that he was responsible for maintaining structural elements so that we wouldn't have rodent issues. Mr. Jimenez was informed me about many concerns he had that were new concerns, and concerns about something that had been checked before that
We're not in here for that.
he did not, that he did not feel that the repair was satisfactory. So this was part of the issue that caused the housing case to linger on. So again, having the responsibility, I feel that I have cited the code as it pertains to the tenant, and I have also held the owner responsible for repairs to the structure. It was noted to me that the repair had been done previously, had been completed. So again, not knowing this information, I still held the ground on citing the owner and the tenant both equally.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yes?
Eileen, when was this 8/31 your last inspection at the property? Okay.
Ma'am?
All right, that bucket between my trash and my recycling is all the stuff I have to keep in a bucket
Because
for
of
my
that.
vanity.
Because of
I
that.
have to keep my sanitary pads, my soaps, my shampoos, my cleaners, everything
Because
in
of
a
that.
bucket in my kitchen for 9 months.
That's what the bucket.
I can't put food on my table, a bag of chips for my kids, snacks.
That's a bad place for food, and recycle bin, isn't that where your recycles go? In the
I mean,
recycle bin?
I don't,
mean,
I
I don't understand their claims on, I don't understand what they're trying to say.
What kind of structure is this building, sir?
Single family home.
No, is it wood frame, is it cement, concrete, steel?
It's a cement foundation. And in the month of February,
Wood frame on top of a cement
in the
foundation.
month of
slab.
February, also, in the month of February, they halted the Board of Health violations for over half a month to come up with their own list to confuse everyone. And I also have that as proof right here as well. That's against Chapter 93A.
So I have a question in regards to this, and I believe, Director, you'll be able to answer this. It's clear that there's a lot to this issue. It's clear that there's dispute between the tenant, the owner, the owners, the Board of Health. If we can't resolve this issue tonight, which I'm not very optimistic that we will be able to, what is the next step?
The board certainly could take it under advisement and continue to the next meeting. And you could certainly, take a look at the facts of the case and certainly digest what's being discussed. That's an option. The fact that if you choose to do that, we can certainly, provide any information to you. We can do a timeline so that you're not just seeing the 2 orders here. There are other orders that were issued for the property. So I only gave you these 2 because that's what the appeal was on.
Exactly.
However, there's a very in-depth file. We can provide a timeline for you for that, should you want to consider that. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. We have been to housing court on this case several times to try to utilize the court system to try to move us forward as well. So the Board of Health is utilizing the resources to try to get to an area where that we can have compliance, and while all the parties may not see eye to eye, certainly, we are doing what we need to do as a Board of Health and being able to move forward. Many repairs have been made here. We are down to this order, and as Eileen has stated, a reinspection has been done to close out the orders to the owner.
Okay, so this hearing, again, just inciting is for the appeal of the 14-day order that you're wishing to appeal.
Yes, sir.
And in doing so, you're wishing to appeal that how? As an extension?
We don't feel
No,
we're
we
responsible.
don't feel we are responsible, and it should be reversed and put back on him.
So this board doesn't have that authority to reverse who's responsible when it's out in the, I'm sorry?
It's in state law who's responsible.
Right, exactly. So we don't have the ability to say that, we can't change state law here tonight.
Well, then,
fine.
The answer to
that's
your initial
fine.
question was if the 14-day order is in the state code, we can't do anything about that.
We'll be more than happy to go talk to a judge and show
With
him
our
our case.
attorneys, because, I mean, this is,
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Okay.
I think Darlene has.
So what I can offer to the board, the appeal for an order when it's issued comes to the Board of Health. The Board of Health has the decision to uphold the order if they feel that what has been presented is something that the board would support, or they can overturn the order and not make the tenants responsible for that. I think what I'm hearing from the tenants is that they don't feel that they're responsible for it. They have identified that to me, and they feel that the owner should be responsible for obtaining the licensed pest control. So if you do want to vacate the order, you could certainly do that. If you want to uphold this order, you can certainly do that. And if depending on what you do, and the appellant is not happy with that decision, they can take it to another level through housing court.
So either way, vacate or uphold, they still have other recourse to bring it to another, they can still go through housing court.
Yes, it's my understanding that that's the case.
And then they can and then that can be the next order that's followed, is through the courts.
And I just have another
Okay.
question. For like some of the pictures that they showed us, do I understand correctly that these are, like for instance, these pictures here, these are areas that weren't repaired and that you weren't really looking for? You only inspected and signed off on areas that were originally brought to your attention and repaired by parties. Is that correct?
I don't know what picture that
Do
you're
you want to
referring
see
to.
some?
And that's what
So
the
I-
owner had supplied us with.
Yeah, I mean, I
The
think it's fair to say that the areas that were identified to us as concerns, those areas were addressed.
So, and it-
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yes.
Yes, so
Yes.
this area has been clearly cleaned of vegetation,
And when
that's
you
been
originally
done.
inspected, you didn't have really access and could see them. So
When I
could
came back and re-inspected
Okay.
the top hole, I was there to re-inspect that
Right.
hole. All of the brush against the house had been removed.
Okay.
I don't have knowledge as to whether they did the vegetation clearing
I
or
did.
he did, but these bushes and stuff were not,
Right.
this vegetation was not like
Right.
that in the back of the house.
So potentially.
It is now, it's all cleared out and pulled out.
So potentially, some rodents and animals can still be getting into some of these areas that haven't been addressed and repaired. Possibly.
All the areas have been addressed around the house, and my real estate agent says that they're not cleaning the inside of the house, the walls, the
Sir, again,
windows.
we're not here to get into
Why-
that.
why-
We need to-
Why is
we
he
need
even
to
here
stop.
to do this?
I know what,
Stop, so he has every right to be here that you guys do.
Yeah, but not harass
And this is
us
an
while we're
appeal,
doing
and that's
it.
why I'm putting a stop to it.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay?
thank you.
So again, we're here on the appeal to either vacate or uphold your request for the 14-day order for that which is stated in site code and recommended by the director. Do the board members have anything they want to say in regards to vacating or upholding the order?
I'll ask the tenants, the rodents are still getting into the house?
I caught one, but I caught one a week ago.
All right, the last inspection by the board was on August 31st. I have some pictures here. Who was present when she was there?
I was.
Did you point out any of these specific areas where rodents you felt were coming into the house?
I only pointed them out to Mrs. Doyle, Darlene.
Okay. and
To her, when she came and did her final inspection, I let her do whatever she
All
needed
right,
to do.
so
I
you
no.
didn't point out any specific
No,
areas?
because the last time I pointed something out, I got cited with a 14-day order.
Okay.
So I just wanted them to sign off. I got the pictures of what they signed off on, and that's the condition of the house, what it is now. So with the holes in the backyard, that's what it is now.
I mean, I do see a couple areas, at least here, greater than a 3/8, I'm assuming. There's no, right here, I don't know where
There's
possible
been
amounts. would be.
vandalism where they've been removing.
And we're not.
So we're not here to discuss the vandalism. That is something, again,
Alleged.
we're dealing with specific, the 14-day order that the tenants are under for the extermination.
Some of it's peeled on paper off of a brown wall.
Yeah,
So if you, that's why I gave you the before and the after.
yeah.
That's the way they left it. They did whatever it sprayed, and they just left it. Didn't bother with the black mold, didn't bother with them, didn't do nothing. They just sprayed some stuff and called it a day.
Any other questions? Carolyn, you have any other questions? When the 14-day order was issued on
August 14th.
August 14th.
So obviously there's, you know, if
Yeah.
there's appeal, that freezes. I mean, the other, you know, the other option is that you don't uphold this order and it doesn't get cited for
Question for
the
you.
occupant or the owner.
On 410-550, the occupant of a dwelling containing one dwelling unit shall maintain the unit free from all rodents, skunk, cockroaches, and insect infestation, and shall be responsible for exterminating them. Does the state code specifically state that that is required by a licensed pesticide or a company, or a licensed pest control company?
So that is something that we have had trainings on, and if we are citing this code, the resolution to this that we have as an acceptable practice, one that we have done really throughout housing inspections that we've done, is that the responsible party has to provide proof of service. So it's proof of service from a licensed pest control company.
So it's more of a standard of practice than the actual code.
That's my experience with it.
I got one question. How come the own, how come,
Okay.
I got just one question, sir. How come the homeowner wasn't cited with a 14-day order by a licensed professional on the
And
very
we were.
first order? I don't understand why.
Beyond the scope of your request for an grievance, I think.
Yeah. Because I just want the same treatment that was given to the landlord.
I can assure you that the directors of the Board of Health and the inspectors would have enforced everything equally and
Well,
without
then,
prejudice.
if that was the case, then why we don't see a 14 order for him to exterminate the rodents when he was cited for it?
In the first place.
Is that, can we maybe just address that question, please?
So when I did my first inspection, and they talked about rodents, I told them the exact same thing, that single-family home rodent extermination was their responsibility. However, the homeowner was responsible for maintaining the building not to allow any rodents to come in. Therefore, the first order ordered him to seal up all the holes underneath the kitchen sink. At that time, the bathroom plumbing had not been done, so there weren't holes addressed under the bathroom sink. When I went back in February, we were okay with the kitchen sink, but plumbing had been done, which then required him to seal the holes under the bathroom sink.
Okay.
And then we went forward to April, and that's where the pictures come in for the bathroom sink. So I did address it, and we did order him to maintain all the holes underneath the sink.
Okay.
That was for the inside, but the outside, that's where they're coming in from. And in that code, it says the owner must maintain the pests from coming from the outside. So those holes were in the outside the whole time.
Actual house is on a slab, and so underneath the kitchen sink, you do have a crawl space that kind of goes to the slab. And so when I was placing that order, it was for the exterior access that may come from the slab, which was identified by Mr. Jimenez to me, that there's like a slab under there, and essentially that could be the outside, and that the order went through to seal up that entire cabinet. The house, part of the house that you're seeing in the picture now, the vegetation overgrowth does definitely lend itself to exterior rodent access or where they can harbor. That vegetation growth has just been started to be removed. In April, the end of April, he started some of the back access, and now just recently cleared all around the house, the vegetation. So if they're noting that there's more access in the house, it was not part of my original order in December or February or April, because the vegetation wasn't cleared at that point.
Did I see your hand, ma'am, again?
Yeah, actually, with the overgrowth, he did cut down some overgrowth, some, okay? A lot of it took away our privacy, but a lot of it, he just took it down, cut it, and just put it in a pile in the backyard. He never removed it from the property.
So we have a mound taller than me of just debris.
And it is a habitat for many animals, many rodents, many skunks, many birds.
We can clearly prove that he hasn't maintained
Didn't-
rodents from
Didn't
coming
Auburn
from
just
outside.
buy West Nile?
Again, we're here to discuss either to vacate or uphold the appeal that you've brought forward to us in regards to you being responsible for this. I think one of the things that I'm having trouble with is that being in the state law. Clearly, there has been, whether you like it or feel it's sufficient or not, there was work done, and it was signed off on the directors and the inspectors of the Board of Health. However, there hasn't been anything done on your aspect of as far as getting the exterminator in, which is why you're here this evening. So, does any member of the Board of Health have a motion in regards to vacating or upholding the appeal, or any discussion on this?
I mean, part of me has a little trouble just because it seems like there's still access to the house from the outside.
And when was the last inspection of the home done?
August 31st.
August 31st. And at that time, was there access to the inside of the house? Was it inspected? Was the exterior of the house sealed
I
off?
went to do a reinspection for the hole that was visible at the top of the house.
Mhm.
On the back of the house, I did not see any additional holes.
I mean, just from the back where they didn't have to inspect before, you know, from the pictures of the lawn area there. That wasn't part of the original.
Oh, I didn't see any
inspection.
granting access to.
Right.
So the rotted wood,
Yeah.
the thing at the bottom of the house,
Right.
where it meets the ground
Yeah.
and normal,
Yeah.
it's on a slab.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
not a foundation, so
Right.
there is,
Right.
where the bottom of the house
Right.
meets the actual
Yeah.
slab. I didn't see any access points.
There is, though.
And that was on that was on August 31st.
Right, that wasn't part of, I realized that wasn't part of your original
But-
sign
but-
off or
but-
access, right? Yeah, I-
Still, as the vegetation, as they said, not all the vegetation has been done, but as we're
Right.
starting to clear the vegetation
Right.
that's been up against the house
Right.
for, I think, what she's saying is a very long time, that the vegetation's not been cleared.
No.
So as it's clearing
Never has
now,
been.
Never has
all
been.
the moisture or whatever the vegetation growing on the house, you can still see the vine lines going up the
Right.
house. And that's all being pulled off and cleared now.
Right,
That is something, just to that point, that is something that I did ask when I was there for the re-inspection, that I asked who the responsible party was. Mr. Jimenez said that he was responsible for, I think, mowing the grass, but he wasn't responsible for anything further. I did speak with the property owner, Mr. Upton, regarding that, and asked if there was, because that's not clearly identified.
Actually, I'm not, did you folks submit that as evidence, correct?
Oh, yeah, you
So
want
we
me?
will
Oh,
need
you
that.
want it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here, you could have some more stuff, too.
That's the other
So
hole.
everything you're going to submit to us is going to be our copies.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We have copies, our attorneys have copies. Yeah.
So I actually spoke with Mr. Upton regarding it. It's actually not, it was an area that I wasn't certain on which party was identifying what their responsibility was for the vegetation. I did note that it was overgrown. I spoke to the property owner about that, and he agreed to take down vegetation to try to maintain the property. But he did note that the occupants had maintained the vegetation up until, I guess it was overgrown.
Okay. Any other questions by the board members?
Do you have a copy of the actual grievance, the request from the tenants?
Yes, we do.
Do you have it?
Anything else, Mr. Milborg?
I make a motion to close that.
Well, the hearing's still open, we have to
Oh,
come up with a, we're now at we don't have any, there's no evidentiary part of it, we've been hearing it, it's just in returns of vacating or upholding or coming up with another solution. Or taking under advisement.
From my understanding, the tenants are aggrieved because they feel the access to the home is still open to rodents. They feel they should not be placed under the burden of contracting a pest control company while the structure is still open to rodents. Your last inspection as of August 31st, you felt the structure was adequately sealed. So,
In addition, which you're not going to see there, they did have some work done in the bathroom, and we did go back with the plumber to have him seal in a utility closet. They were going to leave it open and put some insulation in there, and based on the problems that they've been experiencing, we talked to them, and they did go and put an entire board and seal that in the utility closet, because it's the same access to that same crawl space area, because the sink is on the other side of the tub, which I didn't include that in the pictures because it wasn't part of the original order. However, when we saw that that was going to be another access point, we had him seal
and the
that.
primary problem is in the kitchen area?
That's it, just in that
Okay.
little...
Just in the kitchen.
All right. Did you see these pictures that they provided?
I know it.
And granted that there's no,
When were those
stamp on-
taken?
I took those the day after they inspected
but
it.
according to his sworn testimony the day after your inspection, looking at those pictures, do you feel there could be access for rodents into the home?
I'm not sure what door
That's
this is.
the front door.
That's the front door.
On the outside of it.
So day after inspection being, that was September
It was
1st?
August 31st.
Underneath the kitchen sink, I felt like it was sealed everywhere that it could be sealed, where you didn't need to access some of the plumbing, such as a turn-off underneath the bathroom. You need to have the turn-off, so it was as close as you could get down there. Underneath the kitchen, these are where the turn-offs are, so, you know, I checked behind it to make sure that that was in, but the turn-off needs to be accessible. In some instances, there's probably more foam, because I think that there wasn't enough foam before. I don't know the date of this picture.
The same
so
day.
The same
The
thing.
exact, so what is the exact date?
Date is
If you
September 1st.
can I see my pictures?
Yes. Our lawyers advised us to take any pictures after any inspection, after any repair, and I did that.
So you don't have a picture of this, though?
I do.
Oh, it's not part of this? Yeah, no, it's not.
I mean, there's no...
It's not part of this?
No, no.
No. Because this, on this side is some are closer than not. So it's hard. With the different angle, it's a little hard to match up. Yep, this is,
It's still the same.
yeah. And that's the ones that I took. Yeah, I feel that some of the things, when you see, you can't tell that this is piping. So when they come around here and you see the thing here, that it's piping. I went underneath the sink, you can see the lights. We tried different light shadows and everything to get all the different angles that we did so that we could go for this so you could see from one side to the next. There was a lot of foam, including, which is why I included this, to say that they really, I understand that they don't like the cosmetics of it, but what I was there to look at was to make sure that there weren't any gaps.
Mr. Upton, what year was the house built?
Well, like 1950 maybe? It's an old veteran. I think they were all veteran houses.
So I think with, do you have any questions on these? Do you
I
want
do
more
have a
time
question on
to go over
On this
this?
hole here, was there a faucet?
I have no idea.
Was there ever a faucet in that hole?
I don't know.
An outside spigot?
Yes, absolutely, yep. I took it out myself.
Exactly.
And just so we're clear, folks, I'm actually gonna date these
Okay.
as September 1st.
Yep.
For you to-
That is
these are
correct.
what you were taking. So I think that, there is some question as to whether or not the outside of the house is still secured, given the evidence that you provided tonight. I think for now, with there possibly being some doubt as to the facts of the house being secured, I would move that we take this matter under advisement, and we give the staff some time to review the testimony that was provided by both the homeowner and also the tenants, and do one last and final inspection at your convenience, and report back to the board whether or not and just report back to your board the findings.
Would, just a clarification for, we can certainly do that. We have no issue with doing that. Would it be, would a member of the board want to attend with us for the inspection? Because obviously there's, there's a concern of whether or not the tenant is, feels that what we're citing is the responsibility of them or the owner.
I know I wouldn't want to go. I would defer to your judgment and professionalism as the director and/or inspectors.
Eileen, based on your inspections, you've been there multiple times, do you feel the property owner has done sufficient
I
and due
feel
diligence at plugging up as many holes as possible in this structure?
we have spoken to him and told him as he goes around, now he is back on the property. He does have allowed access now, and as he's going around doing the vegetation, we have had the conversation that he is going to unveil different areas of the home, and he needs to fill in any hole. When we were exact about the hole that we saw, that we told Mark, he needs to fill in any hole that he finds. Is the house, does it need other repair that isn't part of a code? That's up for him to decide and then to decide, but if it's not part of our code, if you magnify something, so I have some pictures of that same area that doesn't have them big holes that you're showing that I took in April of this year. So as their repairs are being done, and if things are then being created because of the repair, we have talked to the homeowner to tell him that he needs to do it. So if he's taking the vegetation off the entire back of the house, and he finds that there's things in disrepair, then yes, it would be his responsibility to fix it, if that is the case. So if the homeowner does have more things have been revealed to him through the work he's been doing, then I certainly will go out and look at the additional holes that they found and have the homeowner seal them up. And he should know that he should be sealing up any hole that's allowing access, or anything that a repair caused, which some of the repairs did cause additional items to have to be repaired. So each time I went, a repair opened up something else.
Okay. So, Mr. Upton, you're in agreement with that conversation that you had with our inspector?
Absolutely.
As you go, you find, you fix.
I already did that already once.
It sounds like it. And it sounds like it's going to be an ongoing issue as well. I know you kind of gave your opinion.
Why are we going through this?
Sure, we need to, the board is discussing your appeal.
Carolyn, anything?
No, that sounds agreeable.
And if you will, you don't have to second my motion then.
Well, no, I just, no one seconded mine, so there is not one on the table, so.
All right. But it sounds, according to the reports from our inspector, that the repairs at the home are ongoing, have been accomplished to her satisfaction according to the orders of the homeowner. In regards to the appeal request by the tenants, they're appealing the 14-day order to hire a licensed pest control company. As pursuant to Massachusetts state law, it is your responsibility to provide the extermination of pests that may be in the house. I understand you're not in complete agreement that the house is completely sealed. I don't think that's going to be 100% ever possible. However, I would move that we would grant their appeal and relieve that 14-day order, understanding you are still under the Massachusetts law to provide your own what is that?
Extermination.
Thank you. Extermination for what rodents may be able to get in. Finding any problems, notify your landlord that he should be by the property to take care of those
All right.
problems. So my motion would be to grant their appeal, vacate the order.
I second the motion.
So there's a motion on the floor, and it is seconded. All those in favor to vacate the order,
Aye.
Aye.
and those opposed would be myself. So the motion passes 2-1 to vacate the order.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
I'll have I entertain a motion to close this hearing on 44 Waterman Road.
Thank you very much.
All those in favor,
Motion.
motion second.
Aye. Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
folks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
All right, so
We will next move on to,
Can I have those?
no, you submitted these as evidence, sir. This
Those
is
are,
us.
Could we get a copy
I
of
need
these?
those
Okay,
for
we'll get you some copies then tomorrow, but as far as
I
these,
can't.
do it now? Okay. He'll get you some copies, so, okay.
That's how they pictures where you don't see the hole. That's the same exact spot.
yeah,
Thank you.
All right.
they're still responsible.
So-
He's done his job.
All right. Moving on, we now, and I apologize for the length that we have of the people in the audience here. We have a hearing scheduled for some tobacco violation hearings. The first one, I think in the best issuance of time, the folks that have been here the longest. Sir, what, with the hat on, which one do you represent? Which establishment? Sir?
Talking to you.
Which,
Mass discount liquor.
you represent Mass Discount Liquors.
Okay.
So,
If I may,
yes.
I'm going to recuse myself due to some personal involvement. with the Worcester Tobacco Control Initiative Program
Okay.
and on this investigation. So I'm
So-
going to step out and let the remaining board members deal with these hearings.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let the record reflect in that Mr. Nordborg has recused himself due to a personal conflict with the matter surrounding these hearings, which still leaves the chair and the vice chair present for the meeting. So, sir, are you able to come up and have a seat at the table here? So, welcome to the Board of Health tobacco permit suspension hearing for the establishment of Mass Discount Liquors. We appreciate, sir, you taking the time to be here. We will hear testimony from the Board of Health Director, the health agent, and then from the representative from the retail establishment, sir, that being you. Anyone wishing to make comment will be heard. When addressing the board, please identify yourself by name, address, and any professional affiliation that you have, and that may impact your comments. So I will now entertain a motion to open the hearing for Mass Discount Liquors. Is there a second?
I second the
Second
motion.
motion. And those in favor of opening the hearing? Opening the hearing, excellent. So, sir, we're going to swear you in. Do you promise to tell the whole truth, the whole, as best of your ability?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And sir, could you state your name, please?
Philip Bhavasar.
Sir, okay. And you are from Mass Discount Liquors?
Yes.
And are you the owner of that?
I'm the owner and president.
The owner and resident, okay. Now, moving on, Ms. Coyle.
Sure, thank you very much. Dilip, thank you for coming. If I could just get the spelling of your last name, sir?
Yeah. B Bravo HAVSAR. S for Sam AR.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. So the hearing that is for Mass Discount Liquor, so in your packets you have a copy of the notice of violation to Mass Discount Liquors from September 7th, 2018. The Board of Health, as you know, is the licensing authority for tobacco retailers. We have several tobacco retailers in town. We permit them annually. And Mass Discount Liquors does have a valid permit for the 2018 year at 844 Southbridge Street. And as part of the tobacco retailers in town, the town of Auburn participates in the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Collaborative. And that is a regional collaborative through the city of Worcester, and they have agreements with several Central Mass towns that they assist local boards of health with compliance, so compliance checks. Those compliance checks can be through signage, making sure that retailers have the proper signage, and they're also done through several checks for youth access. The program that the Town of Auburn Board of Health has been as long as I can remember. We partake in this program. We're very fortunate. It does not cost the town anything, and it's through a grant program through the state and I think feds. So that's just kind of like the groundwork. In August, we were notified by WRTCC for short, that we had 3 establishments that had actually sold to minors. They were all licensed establishments. Mass Discount Liquors was one of these establishments that had sold to a minor. In the process of looking at their permit, every time we have this happen, we try to take a step back and look at what's surrounding that. So we often check their file, make sure they're up to date on all their paperwork. They have the proper licenses that they've submitted to us, and we had all of that information. However, in reviewing the file, we did note that this sale that occurred on August 7th of 2018 at 12:55. It occurred at the licensed establishment, the sale of tobacco to a person under the age of 18. And let me just see. So this product called Game, and the Worcester Regional Tobacco Collaborative does provide us with the evidence to show what was sold. So this is like a packet of 2 cigarillos. They're like a flavored tobacco. So you can note we received that that evidence from the collaborative. It gives us the information, and we also get a report identifying the same. So we received that. In the review, we have, unfortunately, there was a sale to the same establishment the previous year. So last September 25th in 2017, there was a additional sale. So in this review, we go back to our tobacco regulation, which you also have a copy of. So the Board of Health passed tobacco regulation many years ago, and they had in the enforcement piece of this, they had considered different offenses. And so first offense, second offense, third, and so on. Unfortunately, because of in the review, this was a second offense within a 24-month period, as identified in our regulation. And so notification was made to the retailer. I think I had spoken with the retail owner, and did let them know. You have a copy of the order that was sent out?
Yep.
And I know that just recently, so yesterday, they came in and they actually paid the fine. So there is a $200 fine associated with this, as well as a suspension of a permit, as identified in the reg. So I did speak with DeLip on the phone, I believe it was yesterday, and he had some questions about the process, and in the hearing I did identify those, and did encourage him to come to the hearing before the board for any questions regarding the enforcement. So just to be clear, the orders, again, September 7th, 2018, was an order that was issued as a second offense to the youth tobacco access for the Town of Auburn regulation. The previous violation was September 25th of 2017. That was a first offense, and both violations have been paid.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
DeLip, sorry, I want to address you properly. Your last name is
Bhavasar.
Mr. Havasad. Do you have anything any questions for the board, or anything that you would submit to the board as evidence or concerns you have?
I just have the comment that I'm completely aligned to what the Board of Health is trying to do, and it's very unfortunate that we were on this short list. I wish I could be the proud owner telling them, hey, look, not just last 2 years, but we have been in business for now 13 years, and we have done very well. But whatever happened last 2 years, consecutive years, that's terrible. And all I can say is that whatever happened has happened, looking forward, we should, goal is to perfect ourselves and not to show up over here again.
Did you have any other questions or concerns?
It would be nice. I don't know how. Again, you're working with an agency, and nice that it doesn't cost town anything. It would be nice if these were more frequent, or these operation, inspection checks were more frequent. I don't want to wait another whole year to know whether the steps that we have taken have worked or not worked.
What are those steps that you have taken so far, sir?
Basically, we already have the notices everywhere. And, I should admit that our focus may have been on the alcohol side. And, tobacco may have been a little bit downplayed or not as prominent. And that's what we want to make sure that it is prominent and it is understood by all staff, selling, cashiers and people working at the store, and basically more stringent guarding policy.
Appreciate you saying that.
And you do understand, though, sir, that with the next offense within another 24 months of the first offense is a $300 fine and a 30-day suspension of the license. You understand that? If that was to have that is the next step after this.
Understood.
Okay. Anything else to offer, sir, before we?
I wish you had a leeway and waive the suspension. I'm just asking that. If there was, I would have made that. I would like to make that request.
To waive the suspension?
Right.
Okay. Yes.
If I may?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the regulation that was put in place. This was back in 2011. There's been a lot of changes in the world around tobacco, electronic cigarettes, vaping. I think everybody has seen on the news just the different ways that people are taking nicotine in. It's something that is concerning, is serious, and I know that when I spoke to Dilip yesterday, he understands why the Board of Health would be concerned with us, and I don't think, I'm glad to hear he understands why it's important to us, and it sounds like it's important to him as well. The board had considered these regulations. If, obviously, you voted these regulations, it's identified here. If you want to vary from these regulations, that would be something at the board's, up to the board. But the regulation, I mean, it was put in place for a reason. Certainly, it's an unfortunate thing that there was a second offense. I think that there has to be some responsibility for having a tobacco permit. I mean, we live kind of in a world where everything is kind of expected, but having a tobacco permit is a privilege. To be able to sell cigarettes and nicotine devices. There are towns, and I think I mentioned this before, there are towns that actually put a limit on how many permits that they issue for tobacco. We actually don't have that at this time, but I think it should be looked at as a privilege and taken seriously as to selling tobacco products. Adults have the choice, but we certainly don't want to make these type of products available to kids.
And I would agree with you.
Yeah, yeah.
So hearing all testimony and comments both from the directors, the inspectors, and also the owner of the establishment, I would entertain a motion that the suspension is approved, and the $200 fine is already but the 7-day suspension is approved.
I'd like to make a motion to uphold the suspension and fine.
Okay, so I'll second that. All those in favor of upholding the suspension for 7 days?
Aye.
Aye. So, sir, the suspension is going to be upheld for 7 days. In doing so, if you wanted to negotiate dates for this suspension, we'll entertain that at this time. If there are specific days that would be easier on your business for that, then we would entertain that now.
Can I call him?
I would say that based on the 7-day suspension, that it would be consecutive.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah,
7
yeah,
days.
and basically do it one whole week.
Yeah.
What I want to do is like, if there are any preparations that I could do to minimize impact on the business, that is what is on my mind. So is it like next week we want to do it, last week of September, something like that is what I would call you. Is that reasonable?
I think certainly the board has the right to allow me to work with the business owner for the days, but I do think that it's important that we have to have the 7 days as consecutive.
Yes.
And it is, I mean, it's put in there as it is going to financially impact you, I'm sure.
Okay.
But certainly, as long as it's a 7-day period,
Sure.
and I'm going to say within the next 30 days, I think
Sure.
that's probably reasonable.
Yeah, I think that would be easier for you, sir, if you just dealt with the director of the Board of Health for those days. I don't think we need an official motion on that or anything like that.
As long as you're comfortable with it.
I'm comfortable with that. They can work with yourselves on as far as establishing those 7 days within the next 30.
Within the next 30?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Okay?
Okay.
All right, right. All right, so I'd entertain so of course, sir, we've really, you've said it before, but just to reiterate the importance of not selling tobacco products to minors. I do appreciate you taking the time to come here and reiterate that you've made some positive changes. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to close this hearing in regards to Mass Discount Liquors.
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing for Mass Discount Liquors.
I second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This hearing is now closed. Thank you for your time, sir.
Was I supposed to sign here?
Yeah.
Can you write my name?
It's T-E-L-I-P-P.
D-I-L-I-P,
Okay, so that's it.
Officer B Bravo H-A-V-S-A-R.
Just put a check mark next to it to show that I wrote it for you. Just check.
Can you put a pen there?
Yeah. Right here. There. Do you need help?
No, I'll be all right.
You sure? You don't need help downstairs?
I'm
I'm happy to help.
No, I'll be all right. Yes. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, the next hearing that is before the board is, just find my agenda here. Is, yes, the Route 20 Shell is the next one that is here. Is there a representative for Route 20 Shell? Sir, if you could sign yourself in and your name and title for testimony. And just for the record, if you could just state your name for the...
Ziad Abdulmur.
So, Mr. El-Nimr, welcome to the Board of Health tobacco permit suspension hearing for Route 20 Shell. We appreciate you taking the time to be here. We'll hear testimony from the Board of Health, director, the health agent, and then from a representative of the retail establishment, that being you. Anyone wishing to make comment will then be heard. Please address the inspectors and the board through myself. And I will entertain a motion to open the hearing for Route 20 Shell.
I'd like to make a motion to open the hearing for the Route 20 Shell tobacco hearing.
And I second that. Also in favor of opening the hearing?
Aye.
Aye, the hearing is now open. Ms. Coyle?
Thank you. So the Route 20 Shell, 310 Washington Street, is a licensed tobacco retailer in town. So again, the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Collaborative did a inspection at this property, and that was on
August 7th.
August 7th. Thank you. So on August 7th at 12:33, there was a sale to tobacco to a person under the age of 18. And this sale was made through the collaborative. A ticket was issued as a first offense to this establishment. This establishment, as I stated, does have a valid license. As part of, let me just pause there and just tell you, as part of sending out this violation and the ticket, the owner, Ziad El-Nimr, I hope I'm saying that right, did come in fairly quickly to pay the violation and addressed it at that time. Education was provided and reminder of the importance to not sell to minors, and I did speak with Ziad at that time. In the midst, shortly thereafter that the ticket was paid, we were actually notified by the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Collaborative that another sale was made. So as part of a compliance check, if there's a sale to minor made, an automatic reinspection goes into queue. So they will automatically go back to hopefully make sure that a sale is not made. Unfortunately, so within the matter of a month, there was another sale made. So on August 30th at 2:22 in the afternoon, sale of tobacco to a person under the age of 18 was made. This unfortunately was a second offense within not only a 24-month period according to our regulation, but within 1 month period. At that time, I had reached out to Ziad to explain that another sale was made and that I had some serious concerns about what was going on at the establishment. I did talk to him about the typical education of the clerks and tried to determine if there was anything that was going on that may have been different at the establishment, just to get an understanding of how we could get back on track of making sure that that we don't have sales to minors happening. And at that time, he had identified that there were some new clerks. I reiterated again the importance of the educational material that we send out every year with the permit. Reminded him that those contacts have to be made with his staff to make sure that everybody on his staff is carding. Ziad did have the violation issued for the 200, and because they were so close together, I just wanted to clarify that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually two separate sales, one on the 7th of August and then one on the 30th. And I can answer any questions if you have them.
Charlie Mayer?
Sorry what happened. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna do no story, but I teach everybody. I took picture what I did with the stuff you gave me. I posted everywhere. I teach everybody, all my employees, and I show him, if you want to see it, I show, you need to go like this. Sure. And I show all my employee, I put a new scanner. Now I have 2 scanners. When you scan, you have picture now with the cashier. When you scan now, cigarette, you can't even anymore open cashier. You need to take an ID. And even if you enter your code, you need to scan, you see it? You need to scan the back of your license to open your cashier now.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty neat.
You need to scan, but some problem, all the driver license, you need to put the S number, you need everything to open cashier. Before, I never have it. Since 1995, you know this, I never ever sold to underage. This all happened when I'm back home overseas for whole month of August. Because I'm always tough on my employee, even liquor, even everything. So after I left from you, I call Shell. I said I need to download the program. I need everything to be done. Why? I tell him the story has happened twice. And since 1995, I never ever have a problem with cell under minor or anything else. I'm always careful. I'm always worried about kids. I have kids. So you know what I mean? But mistake is mistake. Happen is happen. Second one, we checked the tape. 222. I still have it saved there. I still have like a couple more days before I lose it. We can find a person came and bought it. And I called her 3-4 times to talk to her. And she gave me number from 2:15 to like 2 to like 3 something. We sold a lot of stuff because we're busy station. It's all like soda, gas, not even one tobacco. 2 people came. One dark-skinned person, he's like 35 years old, he bought something Marlboro. And another lady, she bought Slim, Virginia Slim or something. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna defend myself because you guys have a right to do it. These people did it, and I can't say no. That's it. I'm taking the blame for it. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm not gonna make story because happen, doesn't matter what has happened.
And you reviewed the tape and there's no evidence?
No, and I called her 3-4 times. I said, give me date, again, time, again, please. And she gave me time. And like, you know, and I have good camera in the station. I have you know what I mean, best camera in the stores.
Okay. And Ms. Coyle?
Sure. So I just wanted to
She's
show.
right.
So the product in, I think when Ziad had spoken to me, I hadn't had the product because literally they had just notified me, it was last Friday, I think. So this is the product, it was a game product again, the Cigarillo.
I have saved on 2, I'm sorry. Is this the blue one? Can I
Yes,
see
this
it?
blue.
No.
Do you not sell this product,
No,
sir?
I sell this product saved on 2. I never have it 2 for $99. Go check my cabinet.
So
Let me
is
tell
that,
him.
so
Can I send picture from the station to here?
if I can just clarify,
Sure.
is this product, are you saying?
We sell it. We sell the games.
See, this thing.
But it's safe to safe to it's 2 for safe 2. It's like save on 2. Hold on, let me ask my manager.
Ziad, can I ask you, are you saying
Not
that
$2.99.
this is not
2 for
consistent with the
$99.
Not
product
2
that you
for
have?
I sell the product, but it's not 2
But
for $99.
it doesn't have this on it?
Can I put you guys in speakerphone for 1 second to send me picture?
Well, I don't think we would want to do that
Not-
No,
tonight.
because he's there to
Yeah,
send me picture.
I understand that, but I think that we,
Yeah,
This is not 2 for I have it saved on 2. This is the blue only because came 3 weeks ago is wrong from a factory. I have everything else 2 for $99. Everything 2 for $99. Only the blue one now came in my head more when I asked you, can I see this color?
yes.
Is this has happened in August 7 or in September?
This one is August 7th.
Oh, August 7, yes. I'm sorry. August 7, yes. But this is what the second defense on.
Oh, okay, I apologize.
so which one was sold in the second?
This is August 7th. So I just want to clarify, because I know Mr. Ziad is
Yes, the
stating
August 30th.
that, here's the one for August 30th.
It's saved too?
So it's the same exact product, it appears to be. So the blue
No.
Game cigarillos, and this was identified as Shell 310 Washington Street. To Ziad's point about him contacting me, so I do want to let you know, he did contact me last week because he was concerned about the second sale. He did go to his video surveillance, as he stated, and he looked, what he described to me was that he looked through all of his surveillance for the 30th, I believe it was that he
Yes.
said, because he can't go back to the 7th
You're
because it's
right.
too far away.
You're absolutely
He
right.
did look at the one for the
Only 2
30th,
weeks.
and he could not find any sale of anything to what he thought to be a minor. At the time, I just received this, as you can see, September 12th, I just received this yesterday. So I didn't have this product, I had this one from the 7th, but I did not have this one. So this is what he was looking at. He wanted to see if his surveillance had this on here so he could match up which clerk it was. I did engage with him with a conversation. You know, I said, well, don't you keep records and you know who worked on August 30th at 2:22 in the afternoon? I would expect that a busy business like that would have records of that sort. So we did have a conversation about that, and that did, I did tell Ziad at that time if he had specific concerns about whether or not a sale was made, and he did not see a sale that he thought would be to a minor at that time on that date, to provide to me in writing something that states that he does not think this is a valid sale and therefore not a valid offense that he's been cited for. So I did tell him that, and I did tell him, obviously encouraged him to come to the meeting to have this conversation with the board. And Eileen and I both had a discussion about it and did reach out to the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Collaborative to see if they could actually be present at the hearing tonight. Because of this concern that he had expressed, we felt that because we didn't do the actual checks and we actually have
Just him now.
a agency that does these checks for us to be an unbiased opinion, we requested their service. Unfortunately,
They weren't able to.
nobody was able to come this evening. However, they did forward to us some explanation, just a moment,
Yeah, one
Ziad.
sec, sir.
So what they did offer was that this has been encountered before in towns. It's usually one of two reasons. Number one, the camera footage is not adjusted for daylight savings, so it's off an hour. And then number two, they will only pull 2 minutes of the video, which does not account for a difference in time, because that's what the inspector's phone clock says and what the camera clock says. Typically, the inspector will visit the establishment and check to see if there's a discrepancy between their clocks and then re-look at the footage. The inspector said he's happy to do that when he returns. He wasn't able to come this week. And that would be the assumption that explaining this to the owner may help clarify some of this. So it's a possibility. This is not the first time that it's been brought up before. So possibility that, say, the computer or the camera is not on the same time. It might be an hour off. However, with that consideration, and based on, I guess, what I hear Ziad saying, that this product he does not feel that is coming from his store, certainly we can investigate further, and have WRTCC be able to provide some sort of explanation to the board and to the establishment owner. Again, this information from Ziad did come within the past couple of days, and certainly he has the right to explain that, you know, what he feels. We have to go on what we've received.
Sure.
So if there's some discrepancy, certainly we don't want there to be any doubt that the sale actually happened on those days with this product. But if he is stating that this product is not sold in his store, certainly we can have the agency look into it.
So I think given the evidence that Mr. El-Nimr had presented, as well as the persons who made made the buy, them not being present, there's some doubt that has been cast by this, I guess you would call it, you know, somewhat new evidence at least presented at this hearing. I would entertain a motion that we table this and investigate this further and by the director, and then report back to us. Albeit knowing that this does not admonish the that very well still may happen, the 7-day suspension may happen, but let's look into this further.
I agree. I'd like to make a motion to table the motion for this establishment at Route 20 Shell, and so that we have time to investigate further.
Can I speak for 1 second?
There's a motion and a second. We have to second first. I second that. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes to table this until we get further clarification and investigation by the board, the director, and she'll report back to us.
In August 7, you maybe have it $2.99, 2 for $2.99, August 7. But yesterday when you told me in August, when the latest one?
August 30th?
August 30, no way, because I don't, you know what, when I'm not gonna open my mouth, I say, I'm sorry, maybe my mistake. When I looked and you have it there, and I see 2 for $99, no, I never have it yet 2 for $99 this week, and last week, and week before last week.
This is from August 30th.
Yes, this is August 30, it is wrong. Yes,
Okay.
August 30 is wrong, because August 30, this is what he sent you, and look how many I have on the shelf behind each one. Look how many in the shelf behind each one. So this is not from my store, maybe different store by mistake.
Ziad, we will certainly
Fine.
look into with the collaborative, and we will be in touch with you.
Sure, that's fine.
Eileen and I
And
will be in touch with you.
I'm not wanna be like bad or anything, you know what I mean? And what you say, the camera is off in my store, camera is not off because I have a lot of PD come to the store and a lot of accidents. Sometimes you guys take cameras to check. Always my camera on time. Maybe wrong time, maybe you guys right. I'm not gonna say no. But if you find me guilty, do me a favor, and I already paid $200 fine. I already paid it downstairs, same day I
Okay.
talked to you. I already paid it, she gave me a receipt, I never have a paper.
Okay.
Because the paper came 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yep, we can certainly look into it.
But check it for me, please, before.
Yeah, they'll be in touch.
7 days.
They'll be in touch, and we'll have to reconvene this, because right now the matter, it's not voted yes or no. The
I know.
motion was, it's on hold until we get more information.
Okay.
I'd
Let me know, please.
entertain a motion at this time to close the hearing for Route 20 Shell.
I'd like to make a motion to close the Route 20 Shell hearing.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Good night.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Good night.
I'm not being mean like
Oh,
bad,
no.
but you know what I mean?
Understandable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
And I
very
already
much.
put all the sun you gave me, and I teach everybody, and I did one, and I make everybody sign for it, will get fired.
Great.
Education is good.
Awesome.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
The last hearing this evening is for 844 Southbridge, 611 Southbridge Street, another Shell establishment in town. Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard in regards to 611 Southbridge Street?
He's not here.
611 Southbridge, okay. Seeing none, there was no one to see, no one to swear in. We'll motion to open the hearing for this Shell station.
Make a motion to open the hearing for the Route 12 Shell Station, notice of violation, sale of tobacco to underage youth.
Second that. All those in favor of opening the hearing? Aye. Okay, in regards to this, we are here for a hearing for the inappropriate sale to minors, and we will, again, there's no one here. We'll take testimony from the Board of Health, Director and Health Agents, and the representative from the retail establishment. Again, no one is present. Anyone wishing to make comment will then be heard. Mrs. Quinn.
Okay, thank you. So just to clarify, this is Route 12 Shell at 611 Southbridge Street. I know we have a lot of Shell stations, so this is the establishment at 611 Southbridge Street is a licensed tobacco retailer. They do have a valid permit for 2018. On August 20th, we received notification from the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Collaborative that a sale to a minor had been made on August 7th at 12:52 p.m. Sale of tobacco to a person under the age of 18 years old. This notification caused us to review the file, and in the file we determined that there was a previous sale made to a minor, and that was July 3rd of 2017, again to 611 Southbridge Street. A sale was made on June 14th of 2017 at 1:27. The citation was issued on July 3rd. This citation was issued on September 7th. So unfortunately, we do have an establishment that is a licensed retailer that provided tobacco sale to a minor twice within a 24-month period. Notification was sent out, and the product that was purchased by the WRTCC inspector was the Game product. Again, seems to be the popular. This one, I guess, is a flavored one, grape. So it's 2 cigarillos, grape flavored. 2 cigars for $1.49 is how it's listed, and the sale and the time is noted on the product. We received that. At this time, I am not aware that the violation has been paid, and to my knowledge, we don't have anybody here representing the establishment.
And we did send it certified and was received and delivered then by the post office?
Yes, sir. We sent it with all orders of this magnitude and seriousness. We always send certified and regular. We do have proof that it was sent certified through the U.S. mail. We have not received the green card back. However, we also have not received the regular mail back. So oftentimes if we don't receive a green card for whatever reason, if people don't choose to sign for a certified letter, if the regular mail does not come back, it is considered served.
Okay. So, given that evidence, and again, pointing out that no one is here for this hearing, I would make a motion that we uphold this violation, and we go after the suspended for 7 days, and also they need to still pay the $200 fine. And those dates can be worked out with you and the establishment. Again, did the same one with Mass Dust Company. Same manner.
Okay. I'll make a motion then to uphold the notice of the violation for the sale of tobacco to underage youth at the Route 12 Shell Station located at 611 Southbridge Street, Northern Mass.
And I will second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And again, so now I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing for this.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing of notice of violation to sale of tobacco to underage youth at Route 12 Shell at 611 Southbridge Street.
And I second that motion, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that is the last of our hearing this evening. I don't believe we have anything else on our agenda. I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting,
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
and I second that. All those in favor, you want to come in for that? So there's a motion on the floor to adjourn this meeting, and it has been seconded, okay? And all those in favor? Aye. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.